It's fun to be hated. Bret Bielema, of all people, is now taking shots at the University of Miami.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I feel like Bielema should focus on his own operation before he starts throwing stones at others, but we'll get to it. I am Alex Donno, your host. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We are free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. So happy to bring on today the man, the myth, the legend, our boy Blue. Larry Blustein is with us to talk about so many things, including Bret Bielema's tears, recruiting prospects, Miami freshmen. Blue, how are you, sir?
Doing good. Thanks so much, Alex. Thanks for having us on. Busy time of year, as you know. I mean,
yeah.
Everybody always talks about, late August to December as being football season, but it's what happens in the 9 months in between that really kind of like occupies your time, because you have to check out the next class and the class after that. And with the portal, you kind of have to have your head on a swivel these days at whether you go to a camp or a combine or you go to a 7-on-7. So, yeah, I enjoy it, and that's why I keep doing it.
Yeah, with all the 7-on-7s going on, Under Armour camps, there was one in Orlando yesterday. There's a little thing called the Super Bowl going on last night. Yeah. I mean, there's never a dull moment in college football or pro football. And, okay, Illinois head coach Bret Bielema sends out this tweet actually during the Super Bowl yesterday, or right before the Super Bowl maybe. So I could forgive you in case you missed it, because there was a lot going on with, Taylor Swift's boyfriend playing in the big game and all that stuff. So Bret Bielema, who's clearly salty about Miami's NIL situation, sends this out yesterday. He's responding to this tweet from the Canes Connection NIL Collective, which is the official NIL collective of Miami. They yesterday welcomed Marquise Lightfoot, 5-star defensive end out of the state of Illinois, who I guess just signed his NIL deal this weekend. So Canes Connection sent out the welcome for Lightfoot, and Bret Bielema, the coach of the Fighting Illini, writes, "Yes, please send me a brochure. Would love to see how this works," with a couple of shrug emojis and football emojis. And to me, this is classless on multiple levels from Bielema. It's very petty. It's very salty. First of all, yeah, Illinois on the field was pretty bad last year. 5-7 season for Illinois. They've had problems with player turnover, with turnover on his coaching staff, which makes me feel like he should be looking in the mirror and maybe focusing on his own house. And okay, so the Miami Hurricanes, I guess Bielema is salty, Blue, because the Hurricanes landed the 2 top players in the state of Illinois, which is insane for a team in Miami to land the 2 top players in Illinois. Justin Scott, the 5-star defensive tackle, top recruit out of Illinois, and the aforementioned Marquise Lightfoot, 5-star edge rusher, was the number 2 player in Illinois, and Bielema's complaining about it. But Blue, here's, and I've even seen some Illinois fans telling Bielema to shut his mouth, because how petty this tweet looks. It's not as if either of those players would have gone to Illinois if they didn't go to Miami. Both of those players would have gone to Ohio State if not Miami. Ohio State clearly came in second place for Marquise Lightfoot, and obviously came in second place for Justin Scott because he was committed to Ohio State before he flipped to Miami. So, and the other thing, Blue, is why Bielema looks so bad here. The fact that he's calling out a tweet that mentions, a kid. He's an early enrollee. He should still be in high school, Marquise Lightfoot. You're calling out a kid in your tweet, which is, putting out his financial business unnecessarily. That can't be a good thing for Bielema as a recruiter long-term when he's putting kids on blast.
Well, first of all, Bret Bielema never cared about Miami before when they were 4-7 or 5-7. All of a sudden, because they're getting kids now, they become a centerpiece. But as you said, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State,
Yeah.
why not go after your own conference, who are doing what Miami has done and probably tenfold? So it doesn't matter what he says because of the fact that no one listens. He'll be out of a job after this coming year, so no one's going to listen to him. I mean, this is a guy that told me, and I just told you when he was an assistant at Kansas, that a certain 3-time All-Pro from South Florida would never play a down of football at Oklahoma, and he was a 4-year starter and a 3-time academic All-American, as well as being a first-round draft pick.
Oh.
I don't listen to him. I don't, he's irrelevant, but the thing that does pique my interest and kind of like you said, why is he going after a kid? You know what? I mean, that to me, if I'm his parents, I'm not liking that. A grown-up going after my kid, I mean, but like I said, if Illinois finished 11-1 last year, we wouldn't even be hearing this. And as you said, there was no way that either Scott or Lightfoot would even come close to going to Champaign-Urbana. And I can tell you that right now. But yeah, he's irrelevant. He'll be a talk about today and maybe into tomorrow. And then the name will never be heard from until he gets fired.
Right. And listen, if he's going after Miami's NIL collective for operating correctly, maybe he should look at his own collective situation and NIL situation in Illinois. And I like, by the way, Mario Cristobal clapped back, which was funny, and didn't take it personal with Bielema or anything like that. But Bielema asked to see a brochure, and then Cristobal responded to this tweet from one of Miami's staffers, Steven Scrum, who pointed out, "Hey, look at the Chicago to Miami connection. Top 2 players in Illinois, Justin Scott, Marquise Lightfoot, both at Miami." And Cristobal responded, "My kind of brochure." So I love that. And again, like, he took a shot while taking the high road there, Cristobal did. And again, like, this is, first of all, Bielema, whether he intended this or not, is actually notifying players that Miami's collective is actually working and players are getting paid. Yeah. And then Cristobal can now use this as a recruiting tool.
Yeah, like I said, Alex, it's news yesterday, it's news today, and it'll be a little bit of news tomorrow. But after that, he'll be swept under the rug. Everybody has a job to do, and they'll kind of always look at him as sour grapes. And when he's looking for a job next year, everyone go, "Oh, look, what a clown that guy," And yeah, if you didn't ask me about it, I wouldn't even care about commenting because he's a loser. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Sorry to call him out, but I've had dealings with him, and that's why I could say it. And you won't ever hear me say that much about any college coach like that. But, time to move on. Miami's got a whole bunch of great things happening here in February and into March and spring football, and the main thing is trying to get these kids who are on campus now acclimated with studies and workouts and get ready for spring, which I have said over and over again. And on our Monday night 6-Ring Cane show, I keep reiterating, and this could be the most interesting spring they've had here in a decade.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's already been an interesting offseason period because, we've been hearing reports about Cam Ward building chemistry with his receivers. And one of those receivers that he has brought up by name is an early enrollee true freshman, Joshisa Trader. JoJo Trader out of Chaminade is already turning heads. Larry Blustein watched this man more closely than probably some members of the Trader family watched him in high school. Larry Blustein has been all over this. So I want to break down JoJo Trader. I want to talk about some important Miami recruiting targets, certain guys who have been crystal balled to Miami, guys who have recently committed, and targets who took part in the Under Armour Orlando camp over the weekend. So, folks, we are only getting started. You want to keep it locked right here on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. And I'm only getting started on LinkedIn Jobs. If you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all of that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So many, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Guys, I know this works because I've been hired through LinkedIn Jobs before. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Larry Blustein from 560 WQAM with us on this episode of Locked On Canes. Guys, make sure you're checking out Locked On Sports today. This network has launched the first ever 24/7 streaming sports YouTube channel. It is always going on. They're breaking down the big game. Congratulations to Deion Bush, former Miami Hurricane, and the Kansas City Chiefs for winning the Super Bowl yet again. 2 in a row for them. Pat Mahomes is just insane. You thought they were out. They pull you back in. They win the game in overtime yesterday. They're talking about it today at Locked On Sports today. Look for it on YouTube. They are streaming 24/7. All right, Blue, we talked a lot last week on this show about JoJo Trader. You know, the early returns on him is, and I know it's off-season workout, so I'm not going to get too ahead of myself, but he's turning heads, Blue, that he is looking mature. He's building his body. He's building chemistry with Cam Ward out there, who's been throwing passes to him. And, you know, you watch this young man really closely in high school. I made the point the other day, Blue, that if anything, I think people maybe don't give enough credit to JoJo because he happened to play on the same team as Jeremiah Smith and played the same position. So I think Smith probably took some of the headlines and the attention away from Trader. What did you see from him in high school?
Well, first of all, they played together since they were like 9 years old. So
right,
he's kind of been, you know, other than the 1 year where Josiah went to Central, because remember they played as freshmen together at Monsignor Pace.
Yeah.
Boy, that Monsignor Pace team, if they stayed together with Shavers and, you know, all that talent that was on it. But, you know, the whole thing is, you're right. He was kind of overshadowed. But everybody who knew understand that Josiah Trader is one heck of an athlete. I mean, he's a kid. And I remember them telling me when Duke Johnson came out of high school, they said, you know what, Duke's a 4 or 5 star runner, but he's also a 4 or 5 star cornerback. And I said to myself, you know what, when you get guys like that, that's what Josiah Trader is. If you remember in the state championship game as a sophomore against Merritt Island, I think he came in for one play, and that one play resulted in a 97-yard interception return for a touchdown. And he's just such a phenomenal guy. You know, he's a great kid, gets it done in the classroom. And he's not a real vocal leader. I never hear him really, but I'll tell you what, you watch him and you watch his work ethic. He's one of those guys that come on, you know, the field, Alex, and you say to yourself, I mean, there's no hiding this kid. I mean, there's just no hiding this kid. He gets on there and he makes plays like that. If you've never seen him before, you're saying to yourself, whoa. But if you've seen him before, you go, oh, that's just Josiah being Josiah. And that's what's happening in the workouts. And you're going to see that much more in the spring. And he's what I call, he's a Maserati. And you don't keep the Maserati in the garage. You have to take it out for test spins, and you will see your share of him this year. In spring, he's going to turn heads, but during the fall, they're going to insert him. He's got to be into the rotation. And then before the year's out, because remember, you don't know how long you have with these guys anymore. Right. You can't share them anymore. You can't say, oh, well, he'll be here for but that's not the case. So you use what you have. If he's wearing a uniform and he's wearing that helmet, he's part of your team. And certainly whether he's 18 years old or 28, he's going to play.
Do you think he can make an immediate impact? Because there's been a lot of chatter that he could end up prominently featured in the rotation, maybe even start this year.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you think that? Because he's of the caliber, not the same position, but, like a Francis Mawanoa. He's one of those guys, like a Mark, I'm thinking of his
Fletcher.
name. Yeah, but you look at those type of guys who came in and you knew right away that it didn't matter what level they were going to compete. But that's Josiah. He's like that. And I think he's going to really surprise a lot of people. The only thing that separates him is college experience, and that happens. But he has the physical tools and the athletic ability to kind of overcome, some of that, rough around the edges being, kind of that freshman stuff. But and I've said this to you, Alex, I think the best thing ever invented was an opportunity for these kids to come and get in early. Obviously he should still be in high school, but I've seen too many of these athletes. They go in January and you see them springtime, May at their high school, spring game, and you look at them. And Tatum Bethune was the perfect example. Comes out of Central, goes to UCF. When I saw him, he gained 20 pounds, and maturity wise, he was a whole different kid. And now he's on the way to the NFL.
I love that. And okay, let's stay on the Chaminade tip here, because, a class of 2025 former high school teammate of JoJo Trader, Koby Howard, is a wide receiver that seems to be a Miami recruiting target. He actually, Howard went up to Central Florida to compete at the Under Armour Orlando camp yesterday. We've talked a lot, Blue, about wide receiver targets for Miami in the upcoming class. I feel like Koby Howard is someone I haven't talked about him enough. So give me your scouting report, what you've seen from this young man.
I saw Koby Howard when he was 9 years old. He was in Pensacola. He's from Pensacola. He went to Pensacola Catholic. He came over to Western last year. And I'm telling you, he had to play quarterback in the state semifinal against Miami Columbus. They were up 13-3, but he's not a quarterback. He's a wide receiver. He's a DB, phenomenal athlete. You talk to anybody that has watched him play. The kid's a difference maker. Now he's just in the pecking order with Jabari Brady and a couple of the other kids that Chaminade has, but this kid's an outstanding athlete. And when he's in a setting like a combine, you could see, he like Denarius Gray and the kid Kyle Washington, that's Chaminade's starting 4-5 receivers. So he's that type of kid, plays at the next level. Like I said, when he's at Pensacola Catholic, I was kind of surprised because I saw his name, on the, Western roster. And I says, oh, this can't be the same guy. And then I found out it was, he came down south and, kind of tore it up. Yeah. Difference maker, Power 5 from when he was 10 years old.
Wow, I love that. So, all right, another receiver we've talked about a little bit here on Locked On Canes, an Orlando guy from Jones High School, Vernell Brown. I think it's a priority target for Miami. He competed and looked really good from the footage that I saw at Under Armour Orlando camp yesterday. Where do you see Vernell Brown, Blue? Do you think Miami's in the thick of it for him, and what sort of a player is he?
Different level kid, he's a Gator legacy. His dad played there. Right. I used to watch his dad back in the day and his uncle. Both played at Gainesville High School, and then they went on to University of Florida. This kid's he's a dog, he really is. He plays anywhere you want him to, receiver, slot, can play running back, lethal on jet sweeps, play corner if you want him to do it, kick return, punt return. He's emerged a top 5 player in the state for the class of 2025. And I've watched a lot of these kids. So, and I saw him, he came out his first, when he was a freshman, he went to Wildwood High School. His dad, I believe, was a coach at Wildwood. And then he made the transfer down to Orlando Jones. And wow, he fits in so well. And here's the crazy thing. It was last summer, University of Miami had, they're 7-on-7, and a lot of people didn't know who Vernell was. Obviously, in South Florida, you don't get a lot of the publicity. Right. And he came down with his Orlando Jones team, and they beat everybody. And everyone kept saying, "Who is that kid? Who is that kid?" And so that's the kid they just got, Vernell Brown. And yeah, he's a man child. I think he has an opportunity to, Ohio State's in the thick, obviously FSU's in the thick, and Miami. And that wouldn't surprise me. He likes this style of football Miami plays. You could bet Orlando Jones will be back down here, in one of Miami's camps, because I think Miami will dictate that and say, hey, listen, let's get those guys down. They got Elijah Williams, although he's a Florida guy, he still, wants the best for his kids.
Couple more players I want to pick Blue's brain on when we come back, including a recent Miami commit. And, when Blue talks about players from the state of Florida, but outside South Florida, that some of us are less familiar with, I'm sure that was the case. We've educated ourselves now. But on Lamar Williams, the offensive tackle commit from last week, Gadsden County, Florida State area guy up there near Tallahassee. And then I want to talk about another area kid, running back Byron Lewis from Heritage, who has been recently predicted Cristobal to Miami. So, folks, we are not done yet. You want to keep it locked right here. Larry Blustein joins us on a brand new episode of Locked On Canes. I hope you guys enjoyed the action and maybe you won a few bets last night on FanDuel. FanDuel is the official sports book of the Locked On Network. And guys, I had like 15 props. I lost my Taylor Swift prop, but I won my national anthem prop, and I won the game on Kansas City. So I had a great time, and it's full speed ahead to basketball season now. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. For the everydayers, we love you. And guys, if you want to take your everydayer experience to the next level, be sure to sign up for our exclusive text messaging service called Locked On Canes Insiders. I include the link in the show description below. You can try it free for 14 days. You can send one-on-one questions to me. I send you guys breaking news, recruiting scoops, show updates, certain things that we can say on there that we can't necessarily say on the show. So sign up for Locked On Canes Insiders and become a VIP by clicking the link in the show description below. You can try it free for 14 days. And then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. We give you a lot of added value on there. Larry Blustein is with us, 560 WQAM in the Sixth Ring podcast, and he is all over the state of Florida and all over the Southeast, scouting players and doing a fantastic job. Blue, I don't know if your travels ever took you over to Gadsden County High School in Havana, Florida, to watch Lamar Williams, because the word that I get on Lamar Williams, he's a physical freak at 6'7", about 285 pounds. He's a little raw from what I understand, but this is the type of player that Alex Mirabal and Mario Cristobal, he committed to Miami last week. They feel they can turn this guy into one of the next great offensive linemen at the U.
Well, that's the thing about offensive linemen. And yes, I did see him. I saw him at the mega camp at FSU last summer.
Nice.
Gadsden's just right, Havana is just right down the block, from where FSU is, not far away. I talked to his head coach, who I've known for a long, long time. He told me, he says, the thing about this guy right now, he's not getting a lot of looks, is because he's raw. And there's a lot of things about him that a lot of people say, well, we don't have the time to work with him. But as you mentioned, he's 6'7", 280. And, the criticism I get, and these are from people I don't put much credence into it because they don't watch enough players. But he goes, well, he's got Alabama State and he's got Alabama A&M and Central Michigan and Bethune-Cookman and it doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. And I say to that, you know what? That's why, as you said, that's why Mario Cristobal and Coach Mirabal are who they are, because they know how to project, and they know if they see a body of work that they could, work with. And 6'7", 280 is a pretty good sized kid. He's got great feet. He's just not knowledgeable. I mean, he'll lose a lot of one-on-one battles right now because his technique isn't where it should be. But that's up to them. They're going to spend the next 2 years refining him. He already has the size. He's already a strong kid. But you watch, he's going to get a lot of technique work. He's going to work a lot with a lot of the defensive guys, the quick defensive ends that Miami has, the Baines and Blunts and people like that are going to grow him up quick. And that's why everybody has that criticism about a player like this, and I totally disagree because I mean, you take a chance on any player, especially any lineman.
Yeah.
Linemen are tough, really tough to project. But when you already, when he's 6'2", 260, and you say, oh, well, he could be 6'5", 280 one day. Well, this kid already is 6'7", 280. So you don't even have to worry about projecting what he's going to be as far as physically. Now you got to kind of say, you know what, I can't grow a kid. I can't make a kid 6'7", and I can make him 280 by, weight.
Maybe not the right way.
Right. I can't get him 6'7", but I can teach him.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. What you do is, and I've seen it, and you're a big MMA fan. You watch kids who wrestle, and they're big, strong kids, but you teach them one or two things, and their whole career changes. It happened with Dallas Turner. Great athlete, great basketball player, physical specimen. He comes over to St. Thomas for 1 year, works with Jason Taylor, a couple of moves, Nick Bonito the same way. So I think if you have the package, you could teach kids, and a lot of repetitions, a lot of film work, a lot of one-on-ones with your, and Miami is stellar defensive lineman. So the best thing about that, he's not going to find any better to work with. So, yeah, I could see this. I know I'm getting a lot of buzz from all these people. Miami's regressing with their recruiting. What? Come on, wake up. Look what they got. Number 3 class and 4. They're right there in 5. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Miami's in a position where they can get a lot of kids. So why would they waste their time on getting a project that they want to grow and get? Listen, he's already the size, and I think that Miami feels that, and I think because Maribel's a technician. When I had the chance a couple weeks ago, as I told you, to go to that line camp up in Fort Lauderdale, and Frankie Tenelo was there, and then also Matt Mawanoa.
That's right. Yeah, you sent me that picture.
Yeah,
that was cool.
And I talked to them, and the one thing that they said is, he says, you're never going to get better instruction than we have here. We have a head coach who's played the game, and you got an offensive line coach who's got guys like Panay Sewell and people like that he've worked with, end the conversation.
So let's bring it back down to South Florida. The last time Miami took a running back from American Heritage worked out pretty well with the year that Mark Fletcher had last year. Okay, there's a Heritage running back on Miami's radar for the class of 2025, and that's Byron Lewis. He's not committed to Miami or anywhere yet, but he did recently receive the on-3 version of a Cristobal, the RPM prediction to land at Miami. Is Byron Lewis the real deal?
No question. All-around kid. We had him on our show a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
I mean, he's one of those very few kids, and you've been in this industry a long time ago. After you interview somebody, it's over. Well, he texts me afterwards. He says, I can't thank you enough for doing what you did to expose me. And anytime you get that, that's somebody who's been brought up extremely well on the football field. He's been playing since his freshman year. You had Fletcher in there, but Fletcher didn't carry all the time. And then you had Byron, who kind of like flexed his muscles and kind of showed everybody, listen, I've got size, I've got speed, and he learns quickly. Great teammate. Yeah, he's the dude. Hopefully he'll end up at Miami, but wherever he ends up, he's going to be a success because he's just built for that. He just embodies what your student athletes are blueprinted for today. And yes, to answer your question, he would be a get, definitely.
I've said it before. Larry Blustein does the most informative radio show in South Florida. And you can actually, even if you're outside of South Florida, you can listen to Blue on the Odyssey app, on the South Florida High School Sports Show. And he does talk college football as well. I've been on his show many times talking about the Hurricanes. He interviews prospects and players. Like it's really an excellent radio show. When are you on this week, Blue, and what can people expect?
Well, as we speak, we're on tonight.
Yes.
8 to 10. We got the late shift tonight, but last week we only went 1 hour, and we have a very intriguing defensive back that everybody's on, including Miami's a safety out of Miami, Booker T. Washington, Antonio Branch, where, you look at some of the, like Ben Hanks and players like that are getting much of the publicity. Antonio Branch is a different type of player. He's a definite power 4 player. He's a major college prospect that one day, if he stays healthy and runs the course, he's going to be be in the NFL. So we have him kind of highlighting which we think is going to be a really good show. We have one of your guys on tonight, Brian Smith, to talk a little bit.
Love Brian.
Talk a little bit of University of Miami. Brian was up there at the Under Armour, so we'll kind of pick his brain. And we kind of delve into the small colleges too. We last week we had Warner, which was a defending NAIA champion. Their head coach Doug Sosha moved on to Lenore Ryan. We had the head coach at St. Thomas University, Bill Reichel, on, who took like 40 kids from Dayton Broward. So it's a local show, but we get into the national end of things, come after February into March, right before spring or right after spring. You're going to, hear guys like Coach Narduzzi, and you're going to hear a lot of the coaches outside the area. And as always, we'll have Mario Cristobal. It's always a fun talk. I've known Mario for a while. He's upfront about everything, and that's why I respect him.
I love it. Well, we respect you. Larry Blustein does a fantastic job. Make sure you follow him on X at Larry Blustein. Follow us at Locked On Canes. If you follow us at Locked On Canes, we will follow you back. So awesome job today, Blue. Thanks everyone for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. And we will talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.